Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening. Welcome to At the Inn of Boots and Hearts. I'm Matt, sitting here as always with Mike and Sebastian. Gentlemen, what's going on?
It's nice to see you guys after a long extended break here.
Absolutely, it's been a while. It's been minutes.
It's
Yeah, it's
been
been
30 hours since
yeah,
we've.
about 30 hours.
Yeah, about that.
Um,
All right.
so we're doing it as you know, as we've mentioned a few times. The summer has got us all busy, so we're pre-recording this one.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yes, sir.
gonna, yeah, as you're listening to this, if you're listening the day it dropped, today is the 7th anniversary of the last Tragically Hip concert. So we are going to be discussing the Tragically Hip. Um,
Who are
but
they?
before we get into that, I do have a pretty decent announcement here. I'm really excited about this. Mike and I were kind of discussing this in the pre-show. Seb, I will give you the quick and dirty in our post show, but we are going to have a new podcast on At the End Studios coming out. It's going to be called Enforcing the Fundamentals with Doug Harding. I've taken my dad's 60 years of hockey coaching experience. I've got a couple hours recorded, and I have
Nice.
another hour set to record this week with a very special guest, one of his old players. And I will be announcing that once I have everything squared away and things launched and posted and ready to drop. So be on the lookout for that, fans. It will be posted on At the End. It'll have its own Facebook page, and you'll be able to find it with our feeds on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So I'm really excited about this, guys. Mike, I gave you an advanced raw copy of
You did.
one of the first episode. You probably haven't had a chance to listen to it yet,
I
but
have not. I'm hoping tomorrow was my day to do it.
yeah, I'm
So
really
much
excited because I'm
excite.
learning a lot of stuff about my dad and my family that I hadn't known before. Because
That's
the
cool.
first couple episodes really cover up to, I think I was in about grade 1 or 2. So
Nice.
I'm and I just keep finding out things about how things were going and those adult problems that adults have that they keep away from the toddlers. I'm really finding out
Yeah.
how that all went when I was knee deep in Transformers and GI Joe. What was
Sure.
actually going on
Hmm.
up the chain of command in the household.
That's
So
right.
it's
Always.
it's been really eye opening for me, and I'm really excited for this next recording session with one of his old players.
Yeah, I think
That's amazing.
it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
We're very happy
Super,
for you
super
and
proud of you, buddy.
can't wait to
Um,
listen to it.
yeah, and
Maddie?
if, you know what, I'll fire you over a raw version of the
Sure.
the first episode too. And with Dad's approach to it, it's more of a mental game type coaching he does. So even if you're not a hockey player or a hockey fan, this can work for other sports and endeavors in your life as
And
well. With a lot
professions
of things
too.
he's taught.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really wish I had listened to him earlier in my life, but I'm making up for it now.
Isn't that usually at some point in your life, you always reflect back on the teachings of your parents, and you probably, worse, every human being on the planet can say, not everyone, but most will just say, I get it.
Yep.
I
Yep.
get what they were trying to do,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
I should have probably listened a little bit better.
Well, yeah, and
But
then
no, we're
even
young and we know everything when
We
we're
know
young.
it all.
absolutely, I have one of those in the house as well.
Yeah.
Love them all to death, but go ahead, stick the penny in the light socket because it looks like I did.
Sometimes you gotta let your kids crash and bang so
Well,
they learn, right?
I think they got to fall to be able to run, right? You just,
Yeah.
yeah. As hard as it is to let them fall, you have to let them fall
I mean, we weren't
sometimes.
let into the house when we were kids. You're like, go outside, spend the
Yeah.
whole day outside, and get your nicks and bruises and cuts in the forest, and
Yeah.
trying to climb fences and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. Like that's part of being a kid and going outside and adventuring.
Especially in the summertime, come back for dinner at like 5:30 and then get the hell out till 10.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
and
absolutely.
that's the way it is. In my case, it was we're going to the rink. You coming? And there was a point where I stopped. So as we're
Yeah,
talking about the Cowichan Valley Arena over in Duncan on Vancouver Island, I didn't realize it was brand new, purpose built for this team that he was his first head coaching job at. He had been assistant coach at the Victoria Cougars for many years. I didn't realize it was the first year of the team. It was the first year for the building, and I do vaguely remember just sort of running around there being like a terrorizing toddler.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. And that arena is also where the giant hockey stick and puck from Expo 86 ended up for many
Oh,
years.
nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So, yeah. So everybody be on the lookout for that. Seb, I'll fire over a copy of this if you want to have a
Sure.
listen to it. And other than that, it was broadcast by the CBC and streamed worldwide. It got 11.7 million viewers in Canada from whether you're sitting at the bar or you were sitting at the house. And 27,000 people watched outside the venue in Kingston, Ontario for the Tragically Hip's last concert.
Yes, they did.
On August 20th of 2017. So we're 6-year anniversary, not 7 like I had thought. I thought
it was 2016. It was August 20th, 2016.
Oh, wait, no, you're right.
2016.
Yeah, you're right. This was 20. I'm looking at the Gord's death date. Of
yeah,
October
he passed in October of 17.
Of 17. So
Yeah.
Gord gave us another year. I asked this question in our group chat the other day. How many songs do you think they played?
Well, I'm cheating because I have the set list right in front of me.
Oh, I
Me
don't
too.
know.
But there was more than I remember because we were on vacation up at Fairmont Hot Springs when this concert was going to happen. So we went to the bar and there was like a hip tribute band that played before and they were going to play after. The show came on and the place was like silent for like 3 hours and like tears, everybody, dry in the house. Your favorite song comes on, streaming, even me. Like I was looking for a couple songs. They played everything. And it was just like, fuck me. This is the last time we're going to see these guys live. Like it was, and I know, Seb, you're not the biggest hip guy. I'm a huge hip fan. I love them. I listen to them all the time. They are Canada. They are
absolutely
like Gord was like an ambassador for our like kind of history. All of his lyrics were based on Canadian stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why they didn't make it so big in the States, because people are like, well, what is all this stuff about all these Canadian things that only Canadians know?
Canadiana, right? So.
It is very Canadiana. And it was amazing. But yeah, to answer your question, you want me to answer the question for the how many songs? Because I have it right here. It was 30.
30.
With a guy with half a brain. No joke. And
yeah, legitimately. And that's that's legitimately
was cut out of his head. And he had to relearn how to speak and read and everything. And just to be able to, well, that goes to show the power of music. Like, because he had teleprompters everywhere. And he probably couldn't barely read them, but something in his soul allowed him to sing those songs perfectly, as well as you could be missing your frontal lobe. But it's awe-inspiring, right? It's like, oh man.
Yeah, it really is. Unbelievable band for Canada. Honestly, it's like Canada's anthem band, basically. And the question's been asked so many times, but why did they fail in every other country except for Canada? What is it about their music that didn't transcend to the U.S. market, for example? Like,
well, I've had this question before. We discussed it when we were talking about live performances a few episodes back. I've heard on Chris Jericho's podcast them discussing this, because even Chris asked the same question. It's been asked dozens of times, and it's partly that, as Mike was saying, it's a lot of Canadiana lyrics, but it's also they didn't have the greatest representation down in the States. They didn't have that marketing squad. They didn't have the PR. They didn't have the contacts, and it was just one of those things where it's kind of like a really good movie that has no marketing budget whatsoever. So it's just like, this came out 3 years ago. Why have I never heard of it? It's really, really good. Well, they didn't put the money into it, and that's not saying the Hip didn't. For whatever reason, whether it was the Canadian management not sorting it out, or just bad people down in the States, or
to me it just doesn't make sense though, right? Because I believe they were with MCA Records until, I have it up here, until 98, and then they signed with Universal Music Canada. Universal Music is one of the biggest
they're large
absolutely
music companies, distribution companies in the world. So they're not at the mercy of their record label. Like, they
are, though.
Well, I guess it just misrepresented them, right? Is that fair to say?
The point I'm going to argue. Who did they sign with? Say that name again.
Universal. Music
Universal
Canada.
Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, but they
So
have
that's not
connections, though, right?
necessarily going to translate to outside of Canada, right? I mean, I
Well,
work for a
okay.
global company, and what we do in Canada doesn't necessarily have anything to do with outside of Canada, even to locations that are just across the border. And you need that backing in other countries to get the radio play. And I don't think they ever got it.
So I will offer this up to you guys.
Okay.
Maybe they just didn't care to be
I don't
famous
think-
in the
too.
States.
I
Maybe
don't
they
think
just
they
were
gave a
comfortable.
shit.
Yeah, maybe their thing was we just want to be the best in Canada. We don't care about
Mm-hmm.
anyone else. And that's what kind of I don't know because I don't know the nuances of
Like,
how they are as human beings because I've never really studied upon the hip. Like I'm aware of them. I appreciate them and respect them.
I think you might be right. I think they were in
just-
their lane, right? They
Yeah.
realized probably
They
early
didn't care about drifting out of their lane.
we're not cracking the big one,
Yeah.
but we own
Mm-hmm.
this one.
We own
This is
our
ours.
own country. Yeah.
They're
Right.
doing large clubs down in the States, but they're doing stadiums and arena shows up
Yeah.
here.
And they would
It's-
play they played big festivals down in the States all the time. They just
Mhm.
people
You know
like
what's-
even the day he died, Pearl Jam. I remember listening to a show on Sirius XM, and Eddie Vedder. I think maybe at their last concert, he even shouted out the hip at a show wherever in the States. He's like, "Hey, a good friend of mine, Gord Down, he just got diagnosed with this bullshit,
Yes.
and let's all just take a moment." Like it's Pearl Jam. So
Yeah, and they covered one of the songs too that night.
I think they did.
I don't
I mean,
remember which one.
You can say the same thing about a lot of European heavy metal bands, like Nightwish, for example.
Sure, they'll never make
Had-
it in North America ever.
Well, they headline Vaken. They sell out 60,000 seat stadiums in Sweden, Finland, Denmark. They come over to Vancouver and they play the Vogue Theater for like 3,000 people. So,
yeah,
and they're a
Yeah.
symphonic metal band that sells out 60,000 seat stadiums in Europe, but over here it doesn't translate. I have a question for you guys. What do you think is
Okay.
the number? Okay, so the Hip has 13 studio albums released. 9 of them hit number 1 on the Canadian charts. None of them broke the top 100 in the U.S. market, but which album do you think was the highest at 129th? It peaked at 129th in the U.S. market.
I want to say
it's-
fully completely.
It's not going to be what you think it is.
no,
either.
I think it's something newer. I want to say it'd be something like, I'm just looking at their albums here. I want to say something even like We Are the Same, World Container.
Now for a Plan A hit 129th was the highest
Really?
peaking album. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What
well,
year would that one come out?
That was 2014, I believe.
2014. Okay.
I think.
Yeah, they don't have any. According to Google, they don't actually have any. I don't think it peaked fully, completely. Never even was released in the States. I don't think.
My bad. It was 2012.
Yeah. So.
It's a good
Interesting.
record. It's a good record.
What is their highest selling album of going 6 times platinum?
Day for Night.
Yes, Day for Night.
Mm-hmm.
They rode that. They rode that fully, completely wave, and they just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had Day for Night hit 6 times platinum, and then the follow up to that, Trouble at the Hen House, hit 5 times platinum.
Wow.
Those are the 2 biggest albums, I guess, in terms of total record sales,
Yeah.
according to Google. So Google can be wrong, or Wiki, I guess I should say. But
Right.
Wiki's never wrong, right?
No.
Never.
Oh, that's where I get
Never,
all my
never,
information from. So it's all
Same.
it's all true.
We're at the
Did you-
mercy of Wiki. So
You're right. Did you guys know that they were sort of friends with Iron Maiden and Bruce Dickinson, and Bruce
I did not.
recommended them, the producer, for Fully Completely to them, and he was
That's
just like
so
a
cool.
straight up like a metal producer. He'd never produced like any sort of outside the genre before, and they went to England to do it and everything. It's pretty.
nice.
That's really cool.
It is really cool,
Well, there's a little bit of trivia.
and a very distinct sounding record that doesn't sound like anything else they ever did. Really.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's why I was making it my pick there. Is that it sounded different than the rest.
Sure.
Now, Mike, you mentioned you're on vacation.
Mhm.
You watched this monster concert from from the
pub.
bar on vacation.
Yeah.
Seb, did you watch it at all?
No, I've seen it after the fact, parts of it, but I never watched it in its like when it was live. No.
It was
So
just so sad. Anyway, sorry.
I watched it from home. A bunch of us were going to go out and do karaoke afterwards, and they're all like, "Well, it's supposed to start in an hour," and I'm like, "Yeah, and it ain't going. They're not shutting this off
No,
for
this is
karaoke. I promise you, they're going to wait till afterwards because I knew the host, and the host was into it. Like they're like, "Nope, I'm not starting shit till the hip show's done," and they're like, "Well, you going to come up with us?" I'm like, "No." I'll come up after. It's like it's around the corner. It's like a 3-minute drive. Yeah, 3 minutes. I miss a song. I'm not missing a song.
No.
Everybody left without me. I joined them afterwards. I sat at home. I would not leave.
Nice,
I was getting texts and I was getting bombarded with, "Come on up. It'll be quick. It'll be quick." I'm like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm right here. I'm watching every second of this." And I'm glad I did because Mike, like you were saying, that bar, there was a heavy hearts.
Absolutely.
Wet tear ducts were working overtime. And right near the end of Grace 2 in I think it was second encore. I think it was the last song of their second encore. You could see it come over Gord.
Yeah.
He realized the same thing you're talking about. Now, he might have realized it throughout the show and just no-sold it, but you see him have the breakdown on stage.
Yeah.
You watch the man crumble on stage, and it was, I'm tearing up now thinking about it. It was heartbreaking.
Sure.
Because that's...
for the whole band, like it was like this is all they've known since they were like in school together, and their best friend is now, the clock is ticking. He's only got, only had a year left, right? And
so when did he pass after the concert?
It was like it was October of 2017, so it was like a year and 2 months later.
Yeah, he had about 14 months, almost to the day.
Man.
In which
they
time
did 3 encores. Holy smokes!
Yeah, right.
Three song encores, and look at the stuff they were holding back for the encores. So encore 1, New Orleans is sinking, Boots and Hearts, Blow It High Do. So they went deep into Up to Here for that. Encore 2 was Nautical Disaster, Scared, Grace 2, and then encore 3, Locked in the Trunk of a Car, Gift Shop, and the last Tragically Hip song anybody heard live, Ahead by a Century.
Yeah,
it's a good way to go. I think.
Every hair on my arm just stood up saying that.
Yep.
And they played it all, man. They really did. They just they got into it and they got deep, and they gave us everything we could have wanted. I mean, the show must have gone for 3 hours. I don't have the actual timing on it. Maybe one of you can Google that, but
it was long. Like it went on and on.
And
Did you guys watch the documentary that was sort of accompanied this tour?
I did.
No.
I was actually going to mention that. Thank you for
a long time running, because it sort of showed like Gord's journey back, from the surgery and them, because they weren't a band that rehearsed. They never rehearsed ever because they didn't need to, and then obviously they had to. And I remember watching it. This is kind of a nerdy note, but I think it was Paul Langlois had all the songs they ever wrote were on all these like whiteboards, and they were trying to fit them into every single, like play every single song they wrote across the whole tour, as well as including the songs that everybody wants to hear, which is a monumental task when you got.
That's not an easy task to undertake.
When you got they have like 11, 12 albums or whatever it is, and you got it, and they want to play everything. Man, that's a lot to ask for the guy that had to relearn everything.
Yeah, and I mean there were points, like you were saying, he had a teleprompter because his brain would give out. And you see in that documentary the frustration, the raw frustration of the man as he's
because there was one of the songs where you could see he was getting really angry, and you're like, oh God, right.
It was basically a karaoke concert because of it, and I'm not shitting on it because of it.
No.
Whatever you need to do. And he went out there, he did what he needed to do, and he gave us everything we could have asked for, and we would have been there for him if he decided he was going to do 15 encores. We'd have been there for him.
Everyone would have stayed, yeah.
Sure.
So he's according to my research, he's originally from Kingston.
The whole band, they were all in Kingston. Yeah, they're all from Kingston.
And then that's where they played the last set, right? Or the last
and it was a small, it was not a very big arena. It was like a 10,000 seat arena. It wasn't very big because they didn't have any pro sports teams.
So it was 10,000 inside, and then they set up.
Whatever.
giant screens outside, kind of like how we watched the Olympic hockey games downtown, where it was just giant screens, and 27,000 people were hanging out watching the big screens.
Right.
Here's a
So-
hip question for you guys, because you may know the answer. I won't know the answer. Has the band largely remained unchanged?
Yes.
Or did they?
They
people
added
leave? Did they
a
add-
guy after their first record.
But like nobody's left the band. It's still the original
Nope.
members. You
Yeah.
know, it's not like some bands where they have a different drummer
Yeah,
for every
no.
couple albums. Or that's good.
I think
That
the
means that
story
they're-
is a lot of them. I think it was like the guitar player, the bass player, and Gord were all friends, and then the drummer's younger, and he was like, and say they were in grade 12, he was in grade 10.
He was somebody's
had-
brother.
Somebody's yeah, pretty much.
Younger
And they
brother.
all lived like growing
Yeah.
up near each other, so they were a high school band essentially. And then I think after the first record, the short one, the EP, I think they got Paul Langlois in to play guitar as well, and then they remained unchanged from like 88 until they were done. Which hats off.
that's
And they
awesome.
performed a few times
Yeah.
since with different singers, but as like tribute things and stuff like that for environmental causes or whatever. But yeah.
And that's a tough one right there. There's been a lot of debates over the last 6 years. Should the Hip get a new singer and continue on, even if it's
No, you
just
can't do that.
live concerts?
They'd have to change the name
I don't,
because they got
it
Feist.
was-
She sang a song with them on the Junos a couple of years ago. Amazing.
Mhm.
She did an absolutely amazing job. And actually, we're watching it, me and the wife, and we're sitting there because I'm like, oh God, the Hip are going to
They
play.
have
They're playing,
such a vast catalog. Though,
they're playing
right?
with
It's-
Feist, and they played a
it's-
deep cut from an album that nobody
Mhm.
honestly cared about. And I'm watching it, and you can just see the remaining members were just, you could tell
I
there
don't
was a
think you
huge
do.
hole. There was
I
a
don't-
huge hole. There was something missing,
Yeah.
and they were
Mhm.
playing it great, but it was just like, this isn't. It didn't look right.
Well, when the average person is asked, or the mention of the Tragically Hip comes about in conversation, the average human Canadian will immediately think of Gord Downie.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
that's just it's Tragically Hip and Gord Downie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just the connection you make. So you cannot redo the Hip with a new singer. I don't think they would. They would honor Gord.
I think if they were
Downie's
going to, they
legacy.
would have by now, right? It's been 7
Yeah.
years. Like they would have done something more than 2 songs.
Well, so
Have
here's
they
the
gone
flip
on
side
to-
to that, though. Let me give you the flip side to that. These guys, as a band, now they got some decent coin flowing in still because they are the Hip.
Mhm.
They are a big band in Canadian entertainment.
Sure.
And heavy on the Canadian because that doesn't exactly roll in lots and lots of zeros on the end of checks, right? Would
Zap.
Gord be okay with it if they did?
I think he would. He would. Of
would.
course, he would, because they
Because
all
he would
did their
want
own
his-
thing.
He would want his friends to continue on the musical journey, right? So,
Yeah.
but here's the question: have the original band members gone on to do other things after
Yes.
the concert?
Yes.
So, are they in other bands? Are most of them connected together, or they have all basically spread their own way?
I think they're still pretty connected, but I know the bass player Gord St. Clair put out a solo record which sounded very, very Tragically Hip, and Rob Baker, I believe, has
Imagine
done
that.
I know, right? And
Yeah.
Rob Baker, the guitar player, he's done some stuff. I don't know if Paul Langlois has, but yeah, there's been some scatterings of things, not much. You know,
I would
they're-
assume that a lot of people would need some time to process the ending of it, right? The ending of the band, the ending of, just the whole couple of years after that. But some people would, some people, like a Jason New said, for example, would just dive right into music because that's their salvation,
Yeah.
right? So when the Hip ended and Gord Downie passed, some people would just go right back into writing music because that's what they know. Other
Yeah.
people may want to mourn and maybe hang up their musical journey because it doesn't feel right anymore.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, so
So
Go ahead.
I'm looking up. Sorry, I'm looking up music by the band. That's not with Gord. So Rob Baker and Gord Sinclair did a record in 2017 with Miss Emily. It's
Okay.
Miss Emily featuring Gord and Rob. Okay, Gord just put out a new record this year. I'll have to listen to that tomorrow or tonight. And he put one out in 2020. So he's been, busy. He's been doing stuff.
okay, so
Like
they have been moving forward. I wonder how long it, what is the correct amount of time to wait? Like, I don't think you can define.
I don't think there's an answer to that
There's
question.
no
I think
answer
it
to that.
depends on.
He waited 3
everybody.
months Bon Scott was barely cold in the ground when they got Brian Johnson.
Well, it's different though because they're still in the. I wouldn't say they're in the beginning part of their career, but their
But
career
they
was
were.
like
They
right
were
in
still
the
young.
peak.
They were kids.
Yeah.
Back in Black was ready to be recorded, and they had to
Same
keep
with
going.
Metallica.
Exactly, yeah.
1 month later, they got a new bassist.
Yep.
After
Yeah,
Cliff
'cause
Burton died,
I
right?
think Jason's auditions were like on mid-October. It's like Jesus,
It's
Murphy.
crazy.
Yeah, got to keep that machine rolling.
But but you have to. In Metallica's case, for example, you kind of have to because you are coming off of the biggest tour with Ozzy Osbourne ever.
Got to keep
and
that. Yeah, the
you're
machine's got to keep
rolling
moving.
right
Yeah.
into your legacy, right?
Yeah.
So you
Just
can't
drink
stop.
more and snort more. You guys will be fine. Just keep
And
going.
That's how they
Don't
dealt with
stop.
it.
That's how they coped. That's how they coped, right? And they just don't talk.
Well, I mean,
just
that's
play
rock
guitar.
star coping too, right?
Right. Exactly.
I think that the difference with the Hip is they were a solid unit, and the first album, the EP, dropped in '87. So, you're probably looking at 84, 85 since they got together, if not earlier. So we're talking over 40 years as a unit. And these are this is not a guy, you answered a Craigslist ad in LA and drove up to Seattle for crash on his couch for 7 months and record Nevermind.
Yeah.
This is a bunch of guys that knew each other when they were eating cereal and watching Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
Right? So and that band is tight.
Yeah.
Together.
Sorry, I'm looking at Metallica set list as they play, and they just played a super deep cut. Mega deep cut. They played once. Frayed Ends of Sanity.
Oh, it's such a good song.
Yeah, right? That's why I'm all giddy. I'm like, holy shit.
Randy Marshall scale.
It's
up to a 10.
Episode,
yeah. Sorry.
Mike just kiboshed his entire
Eric
episode.
Cartman showed up. What the fuck was that sound? Good God. You put on awesome. 200 pounds and a
Hey, guys, I'm going home.
Yeah. Fucking mic drop. I'm done. It's over.
So here's a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Would you sit through another Hip tribute concert if they were just rolling out guest singers and it's the original band?
Absolutely. I'd go.
I was going to say that.
If it was anywhere near me, I would go.
They have a couple of singers lined up to sing various Hip songs, and the band just plays it, and they'll just enter singer A, and then he leaves or she leaves, and then singer B comes in.
Craig Northey from The Odds would make a great. He'd do a good job. I think he produced it.
Well, and then Eddie Vedder clearly is a fan. Yeah, I'm thinking. I wonder if Dave Grohl would drop by for one. That would be pretty rad.
That would be my question to you guys. If there's any singer right now that could replace Gord Downie, who would it be?
Ooh.
I don't actually have an answer for that.
That's tougher than the top 5. I'm dropping that on your lap. Talk about
or a singer that maybe not
sound as well, right?
Yeah, it's a very distinct sound. But even a singer that you could see that would be able to carry that mantle of the next Hip singer. Not saying that they should do that or that's even possible, but
wow,
I mean, I can't think of one that is not already a massive star that.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of an up and comer or somebody that's just below that level that is just making a name for himself. But I think the two names I just dropped would be great to go see.
Dave Grohl and
Eddie Vedder.
I mean, that would be interesting.
I think Eddie would be interesting because their music is. They're like even Michael Stipe. They're like the REM of Canada.
Yes, Michael Stipe, good.
Right, I think
that's a good name. Stipe
would be the one because he's artsy. He fits the mold.
He fits the aura better. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He fits better than Eddie Vedder would. I think Michael Stipe would be the guy because their music is it's on the same plane.
To be clear to our listeners, we're not advocating for somebody to go in and be the new singer.
But if Michael Stipe is listening and he wants to, please reach out to the Hip and let's do this.
Maybe even just for one concert.
Just
to do
one
a tribute concert.
Yeah.
One song.
Or even something like an
10-year anniversary is coming up in 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're waiting for. Is there going to do something on the 10-year?
That's a good possibility.
Or the 10-year of sort of the ending of the band, and do it in 26. Just sort of.
I mean, I was looking up the other day if that concert is available to purchase anywhere, and everywhere I looked, it was sold out. It's probably not in production anymore because it's been 7 years. But I'm pretty sure that something is. We got some sort of service on one of our TVs here that would have
Well, I
it
bet
for me
you.
if I want to
I'd
sit down
almost
and
bet
watch
you it
it.
was probably on CBC Gem
You know what? It's entirely
because
possible.
that's where it was
No
performed on
offense,
CBC,
no
right?
offense, but that streaming platform is a nightmare to navigate through. Trust me, I've
It's
tried watching stuff on it, and I'm just
it's
like,
tough.
what the heck is
Is
this?
when we didn't have cable for a couple of years, we wanted to watch hockey. That's how we had to do it. It was streamed that to the TV. Oh, good God, it
Dude,
was.
it seems like this is a software streaming service that they're implementing today, which was like one of the original streaming services like 12 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Like it's so
absolutely.
bush league.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, guys, you couldn't have like this is so not interactive
No, it's
at
bad.
all.
Like
It's
it's tough.
garbage.
Well, even that TSN's is just as bad. If we're getting on a tangent
Oh,
of shitty
TSN is
streaming service, they're the
brutal.
fucking
Yeah.
worst.
Well,
Man.
what do you
Like,
mean, like the TSN Go app or whatever?
yeah, it's like it crashes all the time. It's
So
just,
I
it's
don't
garbage.
use that. I use the Blue Curve app. I use the Shaw app.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
I guess technically it's now called Ignite TV, but I
Yeah.
use that to stream my TSN content through.
Interesting. Okay, I've never tried that.
So
I had the TSN app for a while on my phone because AEW's Friday night show was not available on TSN programming because TSN doesn't like ratings. Right now, AEW has two shows that aren't broadcast unless they're doing shows in Canada from AEW. TSN, if you're listening, pound sand, sort your shit out, get some viewers on your station. Give us the AEW. But I couldn't stand watching it on my phone because, like Mike was saying, it's just crash prone
Yeah.
and just ridiculous. Plus, I'm watching it on my friggin' phone. Like, no spring chicken. My eyes are starting to go. I don't want to see that. Put it on my TV. I have a big TV and a small phone for a reason.
Yep. So the Randy Marsh scale just went down because Free Ends was taken off. It was just, I think they just played the outro at the end of Sandman like they always do. So got all excited for no reason. So
Well, that's the good part.
sorry everybody, I ruined the episode for no
but
reason.
that's the best part of the song. The
And that's why they played at the end. Yeah.
Okay. So Tragically Hip. Let's get back to it.
Yes, please.
Yep.
They ruled the Junos in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
1990, they got the Most Promising Group of the Year award at the Junos. 91, Canadian Entertainer of the Year. 93, Canadian Entertainer of the Year. 95, Entertainer of the Year, which I'm assuming they renamed the category just to say Entertainer of the Year.
Yeah.
95, also Group of the Year. 97, Group of the Year. 97, Album of the Year with Trouble at the Hen House. 97 as well, North Star Rock Album of the Year. 99, Best Rock Album. 99, Best Album Design. 2000, Best Single with Bob Cajun. 2001, Best Rock Album of Music at Work. And then that's kind of like where their accolades kind of stopped. And they resurfaced in 2017 with Rock Album of the Year with Man Machine Poem. And then also got Group of the Year award. And in 2021, they got the Juno Humanitarian Award. And for those American people watching, the Junos is the Canadian version of the Grammys.
It's our Grammys, yeah.
It's our Grammys.
So I think they went into obscurity like after 2000 or whatever it was.
They kind of scaled back a bit.
They scaled back
Yeah.
and they started doing solo stuff and they were taking more time in between records. And I think it didn't hurt their popularity,
Yeah.
but
It might have helped.
they just it probably did. And they
Good.
kind of,
'Cause people want it more now, right?
their legacy, their legacy was cemented already. And we all took the hip for granted, right? It's the hip. They're great. They're always going to be around. And a lot of people probably didn't even know they were pumping out records every 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I was aware of it, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guilty of going, oh, the Hip's coming, we're going to go. It's like, I can't make it work this time. I'll see him next time.
Yeah.
I mean, went and seen him 3 times. I regret not going a little bit more.
Yep.
I don't regret skipping the last show because tickets disappeared.
Yeah.
And then you had to deal with the ticket
Scam.
brokers
Yeah.
that added zeros to the end, literally added zeros
Yeah.
to the end of the tickets. And it was just unaffordable. I'm
like living where I live, they always came here, which they're one of the bands that no band comes here. Like this town, our arena sucks. The sound is shit. And I saw them here in 2008 and it was cool. It was good. I didn't know they played all newer stuff. I had no idea what they were playing. I didn't know nothing. They didn't play anything from Fully Completely, nothing from Day for Night, Had Trouble at the House, nothing. It was like, wow, it was all new stuff. And then
for those of you that don't know, Mike lives about 3 hours north of the Vancouver metropolitan area in like a small town called Kamloops.
Small town.
Where
it's not a small town, it's medium sized.
It's medium sized, but it's
We're
in the
medium-sized
middle.
now.
It's not like around a cluster of other cities. Like,
No.
you know, you have to drive away to go to Kelowna and Vernon and whatnot.
We
which
just
are
have
also-
fires in every direction. That's all.
It's
We
all-
are.
Yeah,
Also
and they
true,
don't even
yeah.
really call it the Okanagan up there because
We're the Thompson Nicola.
it-
That's what we are.
yeah, you're the Thompson Nicola because there's. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like there's no lakes, but the Okanagan has like a cluster of really nice lakes, and then Kamloops about an hour away from that over the mountains. We're like,
Yeah. So
the Okanagan, no, Kamloops, our little red-headed stepchild brother. You go sit over there in the desert.
that's about right. But in 2015, they were coming here celebrating the 20th anniversary of Fully Completely, which is my second favorite Hip record, and we decided not to go because they'll come back with a new record next year or whatever. They'll come back.
No.
But I did. But through my job, I got to go see them sound check the day of the show at the stadium. There's no one there but me in
That's
the stands.
amazing.
And Gord was sitting like I am. That's kind of why my hood's up, as that's the last time I saw him perform with my own eyes in person. He had his hood up,
Oh,
and he was they were sound checking. I don't even know what they were sound checking. It was a song. I went through the whole catalog. I couldn't find it. I don't even know what it was, and it was so cool. And
Maybe it was a new song that they were sound
it
checking.
was something that they weren't,
Yeah.
for the record after Man Machine poem. I don't know. And I was just like, wow. I just saw the Hip, like, basically just jam, just messing
so
around.
cool.
And then I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I'm good. And
yeah, that
and then
is
a year
really
later, and then
good
like 6
story.
months later, it was like, oh my God, this is it. It's like, shit. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are regrets when you pass on those opportunities. Sometimes we're lucky with the Hip because we got to see it coming, and they're like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we're on a timeline.
We're on a
This is-
national
this-
celebration, so we're going to do the whole country.
So we're gonna hit all the major cities. We're gonna finish off with this big show, and we all got to say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
You got
Yeah.
to say goodbye to us. We got to say goodbye to him.
Yeah.
Did you guys go to the last show when it was in Vancouver?
I did not.
Like Matt said, there was too many zeros for me, man. It was too much.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, it would have probably been expensive.
the scalpers.
And they disappeared. Those
Oh, yeah, I
tickets
didn't even think about
disappeared.
those tickets would be
I-
sold out in minutes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely,
I think I'm going to look it up, but I think it was in Rogers Arena. They
It
could
was.
have had the exact same result by putting it in BC Place across the street and tripling the
Yeah.
attendance.
They did play 2 shows in Vancouver, and they played one in. I think they played 1 or 2 in Victoria. as
Yeah, it
well.
was one in Victoria.
Oh, it was just one. Okay, but yeah, bananas, man.
Yeah,
So
it was okay. Go ahead, Seb.
in 2013, the Hip were one of 4 bands that were honored with postage stamps. That's a little tidbit of trivia. Who were the other 3? I've never heard of one of these bands, but the other 2
Okay.
are pretty big bands. So
I'm
there's-
going to say Rush.
Yes, that's one of them.
Yeah, that would have been one of mine.
So Rush, the Hip.
Guess Who?
Yes, and then who's the 4th one? Which I'll just tell you because I've never even heard of this band. It's called Beau Dommage. It's a band from Montreal. That was
Oh, okay.
apparently in the
Okay, so
70s.
it's probably a French language.
It's
Sure.
definitely because I'm looking at their song listing and they're all in French.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, they're a rock band from Montreal, Quebec, which is
Interesting.
last in Quebec and France in the 70s. So I guess it would be like, a 70s band from Montreal, Quebec. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just
Okay,
bit of
so-
interesting stuff here.
Thanks to the miracle of Google, I have
that's it.
the Hip's last date. So they started in Victoria on July the 22nd at the Save On Foods Memorial Center. Then they were here at Rogers, Edmonton. They went to Rexall, the Saddle Dome in Calgary. They did Winnipeg at the MTFs, the Budweiser Gardens in London. They did Toronto on the 10th and 12th in the Air Canada Center. Then they did Ottawa, and then they wrapped it up in Kingston at the Rogers K-Rock Center, which is a much smaller arena as we discussed. So I mean they
Do you
They
have
kinda-
the
kind of did Quebec and the Maritimes dirty, but I mean
Whatever. Quebec.
Quebec gets enough, and the Maritimes get done dirty so often it's shameful.
It is.
I feel bad for them a lot of times, but I mean, I
Do
could
we have
a
attendance number for the last concert?
No, I don't. I just sort of found the old article announcing the dates.
I can
But
take a look at it.
talk amongst yourselves. I'll
I don't
consult
think it
the
was
Oracle.
because, like I said, I think we said before, yeah, the venue wasn't huge. Like it was small in comparison to what they could have. Like they could have filled, like Matt said, BC plays 10 times over.
Yeah, I think it was intended to be small, though. I think because
And they wanted
of
it to be in their
personal,
hometown, and they weren't going to compromise that over anything, right?
And I
finish
think
where they started.
Finish impersonal, or
Yeah.
not impersonal. Finish personally, like
Yeah.
intimate.
No,
basically.
absolutely.
So, okay, because you're very vast in the hip, as I am not. But how are they as musicians in terms of like how would you rate them as guitarists? The two guitarists.
I think some of
They
their
have a very distinct
very
sound.
distinct style, and
Yeah.
it's they're I think their musical knowledge is very deep, and
Yeah.
when you try and like some of the songs, you know, they're power chord driven, but a lot of them, if you play one, because they both play different parts, and they work together, and like we were talking about, like my thing with Coldplay and the Doors, where the music, it works as a unit. Where you take one of them out, it doesn't work. But if you have all 5 of them together, it's like this perfect synergistical thing. And if you play like say one guitar part, it's like, what the hell are you playing? But if you put them together, it's like, oh, okay,
that makes sense. Yeah,
makes sense, right? So I think they were pretty deep, and I'm pretty well. I don't know this for sure, but the way they wrote was someone would have a riff, and then they would send it to each member. They'd all put their own spin on it. No judgment from anybody else. Each member put their stamp on the song, and that's how you got that really distinct, sort of, like not individual.
It seems to me that a lot of the musicians, they're really in the hip. They really step forward with a theory of servicing the song and not servicing themselves as a musician.
The music was always first. I'm pretty sure it had to have been.
Let's create the song, and what can I add to enhance the song instead of like, this is my solo piece, so I'm just gonna flail around in here. Right, there's no like ego-driven musical writing concepts. Right, they're all, what does the song need? Let's add that.
You should do a deep dive and go from album to album.
I actually have that on my list. I have
should.
that
Like
next. I have to get through Iron Maiden still because the concert's coming up, and I'm pretty close. I just did Brave New World the other day.
Oh, nice.
So once I finish that, I have it on my list to dive into the hip for the first
I've
time
never
ever.
listened to the first 2 Iron Maiden records all the way through. I don't like.
There's only
perfect, but meh. I don't like the singer. The punky style didn't really do it for me. Like I'm glad they went all sort of Dungeons and Dragons.
There's only a couple of like from the first album, basically Iron Maiden, Transylvania, and Phantom of the Opera are like the only ones that are good.
Yeah.
Killers is good as well. Actually, I don't know. There's
Remember Tomorrow's a good tune, but they had the wrong singer for that
Charlotte the Harlot's on. Actually, they're pretty good.
Okay,
first album's actually pretty good.
Okay. I'll listen to it tomorrow. I'll listen to it tomorrow.
Killers is good too, right? But yeah, if you listen to Bruce sing those songs, it's like totally different.
Yeah.
As we totally just derailed the conversation into.
We totally did. Sorry about that. That was that might have been.
Oh, you know what? They have Wrathchild, Murders in the Rue Morgue, Genghis Kong. Killers is probably the song you want to listen to from that album. Yeah, first album was way better than the second one, honestly, but yeah.
Well, I'm having some troubles finding some numbers for these, but yeah, I'm just looking at concertarchives.org, and the Hip did add an extra show. They did the 24th and 25th in Vancouver, and then they did do 2 in Edmonton.
Okay.
And 2 in Calgary. So it looks like they really expanded that tour from the original.
Because I think the intention originally was, okay, we can't, we don't want to kill our singer on stage, so we're not going to push him. We're going to do as much as he can. And then I think he said, like, let's do it right. Let's do it all. He's like, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap.
Yeah, we saw it. You'd see it in the documentary. That is available on Crave. I actually
is it? Oh, cool.
Yeah, I went through the trouble when Seb was talking about when you guys were talking about that other band.
Which one?
I kind of tuned out and Googled the Hip on the TV here, and long time running, still available on Crave up in Canada. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Seb, you need to see this.
It is the concert.
It is a man.
The documentary.
It's the documentary.
It
is.
Send me a link. Send me a link to it. I'll watch it.
Okay.
In the next couple of days. You guys. Well, maybe I'll save this for the end because it's totally off topic.
Yeah.
But I really want to share it with you guys. Because you said something that triggered this memory. Have you guys seen the new Netflix series coming out called The Fall of the House of Usher?
I've heard of it.
That sounds familiar.
Based on Edgar Allan Poe's writings. And it's
Ooh.
a horror series that's coming out on October 12th. And I'm not sure why you triggered it, but there was something in the conversation that triggered it for me. And I'm just like instantly super,
I might
super.
have seen a trailer for that or something.
Yeah.
Squirrel.
Squirrel, yeah, right.
Yeah. I 100%
Yeah,
squirreled into that.
it's on Crave. So if you have Crave on your Shaw, just
Okay. I do.
type in
Yeah.
Tragically Hip and you'll find it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's cool. It's emotional. Like it's really emotional. It really is.
yeah, you see Gord go through a lot of emotion, and you see that amongst the anger and the frustration of what he's going through, he is not going to let these other guys down. He is not going to let the fans down. And Mike, like you were saying, like everybody else there, and you do see that in the documentary. And he's with tour managers and family and band managers and friends. It's like, Gord, you need to slow down. He's like, fuck this. I'm
Fuck
on
you.
borrowed time.
Right.
I'm saying goodbye. I'm going to do everything I can for the people I'm leaving behind. I am saying goodbye to every fan I can by getting up there. This is balls out. Whatever happens to me in between shows, wheel my ass up there.
This is going to be a tearjerker, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I was a little like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. When I first heard he was sick and they were gonna do some like final tour, I was kind of hesitant. I'm like, really? Can you let's just let it go and just. I'm like, no, like the final money grab, blah blah blah. But then I watched a documentary and I'm like, that's not what this is about at all.
Nope.
Not even close.
No, it wasn't.
And I'm glad I watched it because I probably would have gone in the last show going, yeah, whatever. He's just there just out to make a buck. But I'm glad my mind was changed, and I'm glad I have more respect for them and him after watching all that and the final show and all that. And how I watched it too. I watched it in a public space and not just at home with me and the wife on the couch. We were out at a bar, and it was really, really cool. It was a really neat atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, there's part of me that regrets staying home by myself to watch it, because there was people here for a while. They left.
Sure.
They went up to the pub to grab seats for karaoke and go at our normal time. But I'm like, if we had started at the pub, not a problem. I probably would have enjoyed it.
And I'll never forget like the band that was playing, that were sort of playing before, and they played after, and the guy comes up to the mic. He's like, I don't know why we're gonna play, because we can't top this. Like, what the hell can we play? And it was
right.
Sorry, the documentary is called Long Time Running.
Long Time Running.
Correct.
Yeah, I just found it. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Now, Mike, you still got that set list pulled up in front of you for the hip?
I will in a second.
Yeah, let me clarify set list, because I know you're getting live info from the.
No, I closed it all because I had to. I was being a squirrel, like Seb, and just
I squirrel all the time. Actually, here's another squirrel moment.
We know.
Mark Hamill.
We've been dealing with it for damn near 30 years, bro.
Mark Hamill is one of the cast members for the Fallout House of Usher. Shout out to Luke Skywalker.
Well, it's got to be awesome then.
I'm saying. Just saying.
Yes, I have the set list up. Yes.
Okay. First song, 50 Mission Cap, followed by Courage, and then into Wheat Kings.
Yep.
Solid. Wheat Kings is a song that I recommended to a musician down in the Florida Keys. I said, this fits your style. Look it up. This is a great band. This would have been pre-COVID 2020. Don't know if she ever did, but it fit right in with her style, and she was doing all covers. Last encore was Locked in a Trunk of a Car, Gift Shop, and Ahead by a Century. Would you change any of that?
I'd change none of this. Like, there's a couple songs I don't know very well, but the final, let's say the encores, the final 6, hell no. Because I remember saying like I think it was in the encore. I'm like, they better play, because Nautical Disaster is my favorite hip song, and I'm like,
yes.
if they don't play Nautical Disaster, I'm going to be very sad. And they played it, and at the beginning of Encore 2, as it says right here, and like the tears were just flowing. And then same with Locked in the Trunk of a Car. Those are like my 2 favorite hip songs. I love those songs. And
I'm just gonna say this though, just looking at the 3 song titles for the second encore, there's a definite theme there. Hey.
Yes.
Nautical Disaster, Scared, and Grace too. Like it just, I think he was really opening his heart up to the audience.
Oh, he was.
Yeah. And I know you've shown us the video before that.
At the end of Grace 2. Go
Yeah.
and look up
that's
that.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one where he's audibly very upset because So I gotta wonder if Encore 3 was actually planned.
I would say so.
It has to be, man.
Look at the stuff that they left out.
Yeah, true enough.
right?
You
Like, look
end
at the
with
stuff they left on the table. If it's an unplanned encore, we would have been dealing with something. They'd be like, "Oh shit, what do we got left?" And it
it's
wouldn't be those three.
100% a planned encore because you don't not play Ahead by a Century in the set
Mhm.
list.
Yeah.
Like that was always going to be planned, I believe. And I don't even know the hip that well, but I can just assume that song would be one of the ones that they would close with their entire set with
Yeah.
Ahead by a Century. Like, how do you not play that in the last concert ever?
Yeah,
Right? Like
I think
that's up there in one of the top songs they've ever written, I think.
Because they didn't play either of any of those in the show before.
Oh,
like
interesting.
last week, thinking about this, walking through work, everybody could hear me over the machinery singing "Locked in a Trunk of a Car."
Yeah. So
Like,
yeah,
they
so the
couldn't.
set list from Ottawa from like 2 nights before is vastly different. Vastly different.
Like, just different song order, or
Different
did they have
songs all together.
really?
Like they had 2 encores. The final 2 were Bob Cajun and Poets. And there's no
Ooh.
Locked in the Trunk of a Car. There is no, I forgot the other 2.
Gift Shop Ahead by a Century.
Yeah, thank you. My God,
I have the set list up here too.
fucking marbles.
Squirrel.
Right.
I think honestly, the only thing I would do to this set list is I would have moved "Tired as Fuck" from 7 to 21 and closed the main set with "Tired as Fuck" because that just seems fitting.
Actually, I had to open the show with Tired as Fuck, but
You know
Makes
what?
sense.
That's also a solid point.
right, because that's
That's a
the
really good
song.
call.
He's like, "Why am I so tired? There's something going on. I don't." Because he didn't know what was wrong with him at that time. Yeah,
Yeah,
and so I had to open with Tired as Fuck's pretty cool song.
Okay,
it's a great song.
here's a question for you both.
Sure.
Hypothetical. Well, not really hypothetical. If you had like an American friend or somebody that has no clue about the Tragically Hip come up to you guys and go, "I'm interested in the Tragically Hip." What handful of songs would you give them to go start with these? Like 2 or 3 songs, see if you like it, and then we'll get into it. Like, if you were to choose a handful of songs for somebody to listen to like get them into the Tragically Hip journey, what would they be?
Courage would have to be one of them
Okay.
Okay.
for me, anyway.
Keep in mind, it's not your favorite song. It's a
Nope.
song that you would put out for somebody else, right?
I'd be like Matt, and I would probably say Wheat Kings as well because that song it's amazing. It's gorgeous. It is just
Okay.
And they're opposite ends of the spectrum too, right? So you get an idea of the fact that this isn't just a badass rock band, or this isn't just a folksy band. So that's excellent.
You give them the breadth of the width of what they're capable of in terms of their musical ability, right?
And I think I would almost go Little Bones because
I was thinking Little Bones, and I was thinking, and it's just ran out of my head, Grace 2. And I'm just looking at all their albums here to pick a third. I mean, it's tough not to say New Orleans is sinking, but I don't think
Not
so.
like Three Pistols or At the 100th Meridian or
100th Meridian. Yeah, I'd go 100th Meridian.
Yeah.
because that's one song they didn't play on their final show was Little Bones, right?
No, they did.
They did? Okay.
It's slotted as 16th, but I don't know if this is August 20th.
Yeah, that's when Gord took a break.
There was an extended outro at the end of it, apparently.
Yeah,
okay.
I think he went.
Yeah.
I think they show him changing clothes in there into that sequined.
Yeah,
suit that
he had a lot of outfit changes, which was just awesome.
Yeah.
That couldn't have been easy for him to do that last show. Just like, even aside from the mental battle, just the physical battle, right? Because he's not at 100%.
And they were playing every 2 days. Like there was no fucking break.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, man.
Well, and they added back-to-back shows in Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton too. Like they just slotted it in, saying we'll play an extra show. We're going to do it the day before.
Yeah.
So I mean, it went from a nice, I don't want to say easy tour because tours aren't easy, especially like that and under these circumstances. But it had a good space in there, and everybody's concerned about Gord's health. And then tickets disappeared, and they're like, "No, fuck this. We're adding shows." And Gord spearheaded that. You see that in the long time running. He's like, "Nope, we're giving them everything. I don't got much left. I'm giving it to everybody." So yeah, I mean, that's it.
Did he
I
break
wish.
down at the end of the show when they were doing their
They were,
goodbyes?
when they were hugging and stuff, you could
Yeah.
see they were all super. They were all happy, and
Yeah.
like they're happy for Gord that he did it. And they're happy for the fans, but you could see they were all just devastated. It was just like, oh man,
Yeah, I
'cause
guess the
that's
reality starts
the
setting in after
reality.
that,
This is
right?
it, right? And we're done.
Because you're so focused on the tour that I don't think at a lot of the time, because you have this legacy tour that you're planning and that you need to instigate, that you're not really taking the time to think of the totality, like the reality of what
Mm-hmm.
the situation is going to be after the show ends, and then
Yep.
once it ends, it's like the realism of like it's actually over now,
It's over. Yeah.
right?
yeah,
It sinks in,
and
so that's
that's
can't be
you.
easy
You
to
got to
deal with.
think. You got to think on stage. You're going through it. It's like you get to that third encore. You're like, okay, let's get it done. Let's
Yeah.
go give it, because they were going nuts. They were
Yeah.
going absolutely nuts for it.
Yep.
And when you get, it's like, okay, we're ahead by a century. This is it. There's our last. Oh wait, this is our last. No, we're gonna give it. Let's give it all. Let's give it its all. And then you hit that last note. You hit that last beat on the drums. You finish that last harmonization or vocal or last pluck of the guitar, and it's like, this is fucking over.
Mhm.
This is it.
This
Yeah,
is
baby.
over. This is over now.
Yeah.
And you might have a little bit of a window there where you are still charged by the energy of the fans. You are still charged by being there with your buddy, and you're drinking it all in. But you got to realize, and I'm starting to tear up thinking about it, you got to realize at that point, you're coming down from something that your life work is wrapped up
over.
in a neat little bow. And
Yep.
again, it's a double-edged sword. Thank God they got that opportunity, because some bands just poof.
Well, someone
Right?
look at
I mean,
look at Led Zeppelin.
Gord could have been so sick that he couldn't have done the tour, and it's just,
Yeah.
what do you mean it's over? We got half an
Yeah.
album record. What do you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, we got it.
Right?
We're ready to go. Yeah.
Well, thankfully they're able to put out a vast catalog of 13 studio albums over their career. So
Mhm.
they, you look back on like Nirvana, they did 3 albums. Imagine what
That's it.
else they could have done if
Right.
they just kept going.
Yeah.
Randy Rhoads, what could have he became as a guitarist if he wasn't killed in a plane crash at
freak
24? I think he was
a
24.
freak accident. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
So
hey, let's go for a plane ride, man. Okay, and then go crash into the house you're staying at. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Jesus,
I mean,
yeah.
we've done an hour on this. We can talk hip. Mike and I can talk hip for hours on end.
Absolutely.
And we'll probably get back. We'll probably hit on some more Tragically Hip in the future, be it talking on albums or maybe reflecting on Gord's solo work in October. We'll figure that out. I want to thank everybody for joining us again. Enjoy the rest of your long weekend. If you're listening to this as soon as it hit your phone, it is the anniversary of Gord's death, so play an album for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put on a hip song. Put on a hip album. Do it.
And play one if you haven't heard one. Just pick a song you've never heard,
Yeah,
because
there
you'll
you
be
go.
pleasantly surprised, because there is no bad ones.
It's true. I
It's
mean,
the truth.
we talk about albums a lot on this show, and we can pick out albums where songs suck. We can pick out albums where the whole thing sucks.
Mhm.
You and Seb were going back and forth about a certain album by a certain band before I hit record,
Yep.
and it was awesome. But the hip, you can't
No.
just pluck a song and go, ooh, I don't
Yeah.
know what. I don't know.
Oh,
They just
yeah.
contractually needed this one on here, but
They missed the
damn.
mark on that one. They
Yeah.
suck.
No,
Yeah,
you
big
can't say
swing and a
that about
miss.
them.
I mean,
Nope.
I'm scrolling through AZ lyrics, looking at all their albums, and you just no, they don't. It doesn't exist. There's some deeper cuts, some I'm not as familiar with on the later
Mhm.
works, but I can't go, oh, that song,
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
fucked up the flow of the album. It doesn't
Yeah.
exist. Fully Completely is one of those albums I would call perfect,
Fully complete.
much like Tom Petty's Wildflowers.
Yep.
Aptly named that song, that album. Fully
It is.
Yes,
completely.
absolutely.
Fully.
Do you think they knew that that's might have been one of their greatest songs or greatest albums when they were writing it? They're like, this is the complete album that we've recorded.
I'm gonna say no. I think they were just in the throes of writing, and that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's my opinion. I think they were just getting started, right? It was just That was so. Fully Complete was like full album 3. Like they're just
Yeah.
getting rolling.
Yeah, Fully Completely was album 4. So
Yeah.
the self-titled EP followed by Up to Here, Road Apples, Fully Completely.
The EP doesn't. That's not a full album.
It doesn't. Yeah, I realize a lot of people say it doesn't necessarily count, but it's hip music. Damn it.
Yes. It's full album number 3. I'll fight you over it.
And it was 8 songs.
Right. Well, that's pretty much a full record, I guess.
That's hey, I mean, Ride the Lightning only had 8 songs.
Yep.
Fantastic album.
Just to bring it back, get Seb's attention. Metallica.
Yeah.
No, I was just looking at track listings for like Fully Completely and Day for Night.
An album I'm going to suggest to you two that you probably haven't heard is World Container from 2006, a Bob Rock production. It is awesome.
Okay.
It's awesome from song 1 to 11.
Does it contain the world map?
Okay.
It contains the whole world.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I've sat down and listened to the full album since it first came out, but yeah, no, I'm looking at these songs absolutely. So I'm gonna sit down. I got a like a 4.5, 5 hour car ride this weekend, twice. So I'm gonna load up on Tragically Hip.
Do it.
That's what I'm doing. All right, thank you boys for squeezing in another one.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. As always, please be on the lookout for a new show dropping. Mike and Seb are also going to get off their asses and get their show up and running at some point in the near future. So you'll have lots of content from
September. When we got some time when summer is cooled down, our lives are a little more structured. We're going to sit down and we're going to do this shit.
No, exactly. I mean, and the summer's half over. Or the August.
Kids go back to school in like fucking August 3.5 weeks. Over. Beauty.
Yeah.
And one of you has a birthday next week.
That's me, Sebastian.
That's right.
Yes, it is.
In 2 days.
2 days. The old man.
Anyways, get us out of here, Matt.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. And remember to get out before you get the wherewithal.